Hey, Jules Plus Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. People, I've been very busy, but I assure you, even when I'm busy, I'm still thinking of my JBV community. That's Jules Plus Vegan. And I talked a couple weeks ago about wanting to do a video on cortisol and also on serotonin. And I always find things that interest me and pray that they'll interest you. So this is a little lengthy. It's from the Cleveland Clinic, but it's fantastic information. Of course, I will put it in the description of the video. If it's too long, hey, just pause, come back. The video's not going anywhere, right? But it is worth learning about for sure, because it's kind of in line with insulin resistance. It's in line with, I always forget what is the opposite, not the opposite, but another term for insulin resistance. Hormone imbalance. Thank you. People, I give my brain cells all day to preteens, okay? They literally take my oxygen like it's proven scientifically. So by the time I get to you, and it's always, after 10 o'clock, I have to focus for a moment, but I am happy to do it. Happy to do it. All right, let's get into it, friends. Again, this is from the Cleveland Clinic, and it's all about cortisol. Cortisol is a steroid hormone that your adrenal glands, the endocrine glands on top of your kidneys, produce and release. Cortisol affects several aspects of your body and mainly helps regulate your body's response to stress. Yes, please. Unfortunately, if you're overly stressed, it can be going in the wrong direction. And interestingly, I just had my cortisol checked, and I had to submit like 3 different times of the day. And one of the times the cortisol was low. Overall, it was just on the low side anyway. But is that good or bad? I mean, I think, why don't you just meet me in the middle is probably best. Okay, so let's figure it out. What is cortisol? Cortisol is a glucocorticoid hormone that your adrenal glands produce and release. Hormones are chemicals that coordinate different functions in your body by carrying messages through your blood to your organs, skin, muscles, and other tissues. These signals tell your body what to do and when to do it. Glucocorticoids, say that 10 times, are a type of steroid hormone. They suppress inflammation in all your bodily tissues. Suppress inflammation, yes please, right? Oh my gosh, we desperately need that inflammation reduced. People, the consequences of so many ailments in the body are because of inflammation in your bodily tissue and control metabolism in your muscles, fat, liver, and bones. Glucocorticoids also affect sleep-wake cycles. I'm happy we're reading this because all of this is ringing bells. Your adrenal glands, also known as suprarenal glands, are small triangle-shaped glands that are located on the top of each of your 2 kidneys. They are a part of your endocrine system, which is, endocrine. It says endocrine. I mean, tomato, potato. Endocrine. Okay. Anyway, hyperlinks all over, which is why I'm including it in the description of the video. So if you have time, you can go back in and click on those. I'm a girl who came from kidney disease. As a result of medication, I really abused my kidneys, unbeknownst to me, while it was going down. And I've been in recovery. I was points away, which is a small exaggeration, from needing to get extreme help. Let's just say that. I mean, they literally said, where do you want us to put your stent? Do you want it in your arm or in your chest? And how do you want us to give you your cute little machine so you can... I was like, you have the wrong person, and I ran for my life. If you want to know more about my kidneys being restored, go right to the Jules Bless Vegan search, not the top, and put in kidneys. It'll tell you all about that for sure. All right, but God bless everybody who unfortunately has to, have treatment for kidneys. I didn't even know what a nephrologist was or anything. Like, that all became very new to me very quickly when I realized that I was at a high stage 3 of kidney disease and my GFR was failing and on and on. Anyway, story for another day and maybe never, because I just want to keep being well. All right, cortisol is an essential hormone that affects almost every organ and tissue in your body. I mean, how important is that? Every organ and tissue? Come on. We really need to know what cortisol is all about. It plays many important roles, including, here's the list, regulating your body's stress response, helping control your body's use of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, or your metabolism. Of course, fats, proteins, carbohydrates are in every fruit and vegetable, right? People need to know there's some of each in every food. Suppressing inflammation, meaning reducing or keeping it at bay, regulating blood pressure, regulating blood sugar, and helping control your sleep-wake cycle. And again, tons of hyperlinks. Your body continuously monitors your cortisol level to maintain steady levels, homeostasis. Higher than normal or lower than normal, cortisol levels can be harmful to your health. Is cortisol a stress hormone? Cortisol is widely known as the stress hormone. However, it has many important effects and functions throughout your body, aside from regulating your body's stress response, like the flight or fight response. It's also important to remember that biologically speaking, there are multiple different kinds of stress, including acute stress. So cute. Wrong. Acute stress happens when you're in sudden danger within a short period of time. For example, barely avoiding a car accident or being chased by an animal are situations that cause acute stress. Or passing a donut store and wondering if you're going to stop. Hey, it was true at a time. Okay, chronic stress. Chronic, which is long-term stress, happens when you experience ongoing situations that cause frustration or anxiety. For example, having a difficult or frustrating job, or having a chronic illness that can cause chronic stress, or being in a living situation, right? Like either a relationship or the household or whatever, that you just don't feel you can get out of, can cause chronic stress. Traumatic stress. Traumatic stress happens when you experience a life-threatening event that induces fear and a feeling of helplessness. For example, experiencing an extreme weather event, such as a tornado, or experiencing war or sexual assault, can cause traumatic. Can I speak? La 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 la. Bear with me, people. Traumatic stress. Wow. In some cases, these events can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. It was certainly true for me, just surviving my childhood in many ways, for real. And there's a lot of things that I'm still dealing with and wearing, right? Which is why I still have too much weight in my body. Your body releases cortisol when you experience any of these types of stress. What does cortisol do to my body? I'm glad you asked. Almost all tissues in your body have glucocorticoid receptors. Because of this, cortisol can affect nearly every organ system in your body. Man, this is so important to know. For real, I'm glad we're getting into it. Including, and again, these are all hyperlinks, nervous system, immune system, cardiovascular system, respiratory system, reproductive system, both male and female, musculoskeletal system, and the integumentary system, which is like skin, hair, nails, glands, nerves, every system. More specifically, cortisol affects your body in the following ways, and this is what we wanted to know, what's going down. All right. Again, pause if you need to. Number 1. Regulating your body's stress response. During times of stress, your body can release cortisol after releasing its fight or flight hormones, such as adrenaline, so you continue to stay on high alert. In addition, cortisol triggers the release of glucose, which is sugar, from your liver for fast energy during times of stress. Regulating metabolism. Cortisol helps control how your body uses fats, proteins, and carbohydrates for energy. Suppressing inflammation. In short spurts, cortisol can boost your immunity by limiting inflammation. However, if you have consistently high levels of cortisol, your body can't get used to having too much cortisol in your blood, which can lead to inflammation and a weakened immune system. Your body just can't fight. Regulating blood pressure. The exact way in which cortisol regulates blood pressure in humans is unclear. However, elevated levels of cortisol can cause high blood pressure, and lower than normal levels of cortisol can cause low blood pressure. Well, I tend to have lower blood pressure, though it's interesting. Often when I go to the doctor and they take my blood pressure, and I think it's because I'm usually there when I'm in pain, or I've just booked it from the parking lot, my blood pressure tends to be up. But overall, like even in my medical record, it'll say, client suffers from low blood pressure at times. And that might be why my cortisol level was low. I'm going to get into that test a little more, but not yet. Increasing and regulating blood sugar. Under normal circumstances, cortisol counterbalances the effect of insulin, a hormone your pancreas makes, to regulate your blood sugar. Cortisol raises blood sugar by releasing stored glucose, while insulin lowers blood sugar. Having chronically high cortisol levels can lead to persistent high blood sugar or hyperglycemia. This can cause type 2 diabetes. A lot of people throw a lot of terms around, right? Oh, I'm hypoglycemic, la la la. I need crackers, I need a snack. It's like, have you actually been tested for that? Like, did a doctor affirm that was true for you? Or, well, no, but I just know like my whole life because I've been doing real blood tests, people, because I don't want to guess anymore. I just need to get on with it. All right, helping control your sleep-wake cycle. Under regular circumstances, you have lower cortisol levels in the evening when you go to sleep and peak levels in the morning right before you wake up. This suggests that cortisol plays a significant role in the initiation of wakefulness and plays a part in your body's circadian rhythm. Yeah, super interesting. My poor husband. Because, one, I'm up all the time, seemingly. And when I finally do sleep, I do sleep kind of hard, but I talk in my sleep. So every minute I'm talking, I'm arguing, I'm rolling back and forth, I'm throwing arms. And my husband's just like watching the show going, can I please go to sleep, Juliana? I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. That's why I have 2 fake front teeth, because I grinded them right off. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, optimum cortisol levels are necessary. Now, 3 of the 4 were at normal level. They were, but just that one was a little low. Optimum cortisol levels are necessary for life and for maintaining several bodily functions. Is it just me, or have they said that several times? If you have consistently high or low cortisol levels, it can have negative impacts on your overall health. How does my body control cortisol levels? Let's get into it. Your body has an elaborate system to regulate your cortisol levels. Your hypothalamus, a small area of your brain involved in hormonal regulation, and your pituitary gland, again hyperlinks, a tiny gland located below your brain, regulate the production of cortisol in your adrenal glands. When the levels of cortisol in your blood fall, your hypothalamus releases corticotropin. We're going to get this. Corticotropin. Releasing hormone, or CRH. I welcome CRH. Corticotropin. Some of these are familiar because I can tell that they're like the root word of other medical terms, but It's a struggle. Which directs your pituitary gland to produce andro- adrenocorticotropic hormone. Oh, corticotropic. Adreno, okay, I get that, the adrenal gland, cortico. That reminds me of corticosteroid, right? Corticotropic. Well, tropics get me there because I need a break. It's my 25th anniversary coming up. Not until August, but still. The tropics? Yeah. My husband plays Santa Claus. He'd be like, honey, you do not want to see this in a Speedo. Bring it on. All right. Which directs your pituitary gland to produce that big word that I said, adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH. Okay, ACTH then stimulates your adrenal glands to produce and release cortisol. I'll leave it to God. It's His system anyway. He knows what's going down. Thank you, Father, for making it complicated for non-medical professionals. Super interesting, though. In order to have optimal levels of cortisol in your body, your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands must all be functioning properly. That's a lot. In many people, they are not functioning properly. What tests can check for cortisol levels? Healthcare providers can measure cortisol levels through blood, urine, saliva. Mine was blood and saliva. They'll determine which test is best depending on your symptoms. What are normal cortisol levels? The level of cortisol in your blood, urine, and saliva normally peaks in the early morning and declines throughout the day, reaching its lowest level around midnight. This pattern can change if you work a night shift and sleep at different times of the day. For most tests that measure cortisol levels in your blood, the normal ranges are 10 to 20 micrograms for 6 to 8 a.m., and around 4 p.m., about 3 to 10. This is good to know. Like, I want to go back in to my test and see what they said about that. I'm going to check it out. Normal ranges can vary from lab to lab, time to time, and person to person. If you need to get a cortisol level test, your healthcare provider will interpret your results and let you know if you need to get further testing. What causes high levels of cortisol? Experiencing abnormally high levels of cortisol, hypercortisolism, hypercortisolism. Hey, I might be a teacher, but I can be schooled, right? Hypercortisolism for an extended period of time is usually considered Cushing's syndrome. And of course, that is a disease people know of, and it's a hyperlink, which is a rare condition. Rare for all those people who are going to decide, well, that's me. Rare condition. Small percentage of a percent. Causes of higher than normal cortisol levels and Cushing's syndrome include taking large amounts of corticosteroid medications such as prednisone, which they just had me do 2 rounds of, but it was for my asthma, prednisolone, and dexamethasone for treatment of other conditions. Tumors that produce adrenocorticotropic hormone. These are usually found in your pituitary gland. More rarely, neuroendocrine tumors and other parts of your body, such as your lungs, can cause high cortisol levels. Adrenal gland tumors, again, hyperlink, or excessive growth of adrenal tissue, which is hyperplasia, can cause excess production of cortisol. What are the symptoms of high cortisol levels? The symptoms of Cushing's syndrome depend on how elevated your cortisol levels are. Common signs and symptoms of higher than normal cortisol levels include weight gain, especially in your face and abdomen, fatty deposits between your shoulder blades, wide purple stretch marks on your abdomen, muscle weakness in your upper arms or thighs, high blood sugar, which often turns into type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, excessive hair growth, hirsutism in people assigned female at birth, and weak bones, osteoporosis, and fractures. That's a lot. And some of those are familiar to me, like over the years, but like I said, I'm not even going to buy into it because I just did real tests. So I'm going to stick with what I know. All right, what causes low levels? This is what I'm interested in, of cortisol. Having lower than normal cortisol levels, hypercortisolism, is considered adrenal insufficiency. There are two types of adrenal insufficiency, primary and secondary. The causes of adrenal insufficiency include primary adrenal insufficiency is most commonly caused by an autoimmune reaction in which your immune system attacks healthy cells in your adrenal glands for no known reason. This is called Addison's disease. And again, a hyperlink. Your adrenal glands can also become damaged from an infection or blood loss to the tissues, adrenal hemorrhage. All of these situations limit cortisol production. Secondary adrenal insufficiency. If you have an underactive pituitary gland, hypopituitarism, or pituitary tumor, it can limit ACTH production. ACTH signals your adrenal glands to make cortisol, so limited ACTH results in limited cortisol production. You can also have lower than normal cortisol levels after stopping treatment with corticosteroid medications, especially if you stop taking them very quickly after a long period of use. Okay, well, to be fair, just at Christmas time, I did 2 major rounds, right, for about 20 days, and it's only April. So that could have been part of it for sure. I'm open to that. What are symptoms of low cortisol levels? Symptoms of lower than normal cortisol levels or adrenal insufficiency include fatigue, unintentional weight loss. Would that be true? Poor appetite and low blood pressure or hypotension. How can I reduce my cortisol levels? It's not my problem, but let's find out. If you have Cushing's syndrome, which is very high levels of cortisol, you'll need medical treatment to lower your cortisol levels. Treatment usually involves medication and or surgery. You'll also need medical treatment if you have lower than normal cortisol levels. Again, I'm not concerned. It was only 1 out of the 4 times that they tested. It was just of interest to me. In general, though, there are several everyday things you can do to try to lower your cortisol levels and keep them at optimal ranges. Okay, I love this. I love this part because they're not just staying with the hopelessness of medication and surgery. They're saying, no, there's some choices you can make. All right. I'm so happy. Like props for going there. Number 1, get quality sleep. Everybody knows sleep is a problem for me. Chronic sleep issues such as obstructive sleep apnea, which, praise God, even at my heaviest, I never dealt with. Insomnia. I'm not an isn't it called an insomnic? Did you hear that here for the first time at Jules Plus Vegan? I don't know, but I don't actually suffer from insomnia. Sure, like anybody else, I get stressed sometimes, or at bedtime, it's hard for me to fall asleep. But no, I'm not a person who's up for days at a time. I kind of think, was that true for me early on? I don't think so. Not really. Or working a late night shift. I never chose to. I had lots of opportunities. I never chose to. Are associated with higher cortisol levels. Now, everybody knows that I am often up till 2 a.m. and get up at 5:30 to get to work. My natural time, if I could just kick it, my natural time would probably be about 2:30 or 3 a.m. That's really comfortable for me. And then I would like to sleep until, in a perfect world, until about 9:30. That would be lovely. It's never been possible, and it's okay that it's not. But yeah, that's kind of my natural rhythm. Exercise regularly. Several studies have shown that regular exercise helps improve sleep quality and reduce stress, which can help lower cortisol levels over time. I welcome that. Learn to limit stress, like actually find out how to limit stress. Hyperlink, hyperlink, hyperlink. And stressful thinking patterns. Being aware of your thinking pattern, breathing, heart rate, and other signs of tension helps you recognize stress when it begins, and it can help you prevent it from becoming worse. I love that. Practice deep breathing exercises. If you go right here to Jules Plus Vegan, not the top, but right here, next to Jules, and do the search, put in breathing. I have several great videos on the importance of breathing, methods for breathing, like all of it is really good. Controlled breathing helps stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest system, which helps lower cortisol levels. Enjoy yourself and laugh. I don't get migraines, thank God, anymore. I was horrific. I vomited all the time, had to give myself shots, had to go get, don't even get me started. It's so awful. And even talking about it makes me panic. But again, in my little search bar for tools, if you put in migraine, you'll see how I recovered from migraines. But every time I had one, nearly every time I had one, I realized that I'd forgotten to laugh that day. I just was so serious and so in my head that I forgot to laugh. And I'm a person who needs to laugh. I generate laughter. I love laughter. And that was a big part of it. So I agree, Laughing promotes the release of endorphins and suppresses cortisol. Participating in hobbies and fun activities can also promote feelings of well-being, which may lower your cortisol levels. So I was misunderstanding when they said suppressing inflammation. They meant in a bad way. I thought they meant keeping it at bay. But obviously suppressing cortisol, that's a bad thing too, right? Okay, my bad. I was misreading that. Maintain healthy relationships. That's a two-way street, am I right? I mean, you might want to maintain one, but everybody has to be on board. Okay, relationships are a significant aspect of our lives. Having tense and unhealthy relationships with loved ones or co-workers can cause frequent stress and raise your cortisol level. Now, we can't control the other person. We can definitely determine our response. And you know the definition of insanity. You keep expecting them to change. They're not going to. But in changing our mindset to them can greatly reduce stress. And I recently turned a little relationship around with a person I was struggling with by just kind of tapping into what makes them feel good. And suddenly, the whole energy changed, which was fabulous. When should I see my doctor about cortisol levels? If you experience symptoms of Cushing's syndrome or adrenal insufficiency, contact your healthcare provider. If you're concerned about your daily stress levels, talk to your provider about steps you can take to minimize your stress and stay healthy. A note from Cleveland Clinic. Cortisol is an essential hormone that impacts several aspects of your body. While there are several things you can do to try and limit your stress and therefore manage your cortisol levels, sometimes having abnormally high or low levels of cortisol is out of your control. If you experience symptoms of high or low cortisol levels, such as weight gain or loss, and high or low blood pressure, respectively, it's important to contact your healthcare provider. They can run some simple tests to see if your adrenal glands or pituitary gland are responsible for your symptoms. And I like the way they didn't say, and you should go with us, and we're phenomenal. They kept saying, you know what, you do you go to your provider. I really appreciate that. I respected this article, friends. It was very interesting to me. I know a little bit more about cortisol. I'm still going in this direction with cortisol. I have another video I want to do. And then again, I'm going to go with serotonin, as they seem to be cousins in some way. All right, friends. Like if you like. Join us if you haven't. Subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. And until we talk again, best of all, cortisol is something you can manage. And therefore, you're blessed.